I need to tell you about a major pattern shift that is happening right now across North America. And what comes next is going to bring a relentless series of winter storms to large portions of the United States over the next 7 to 10 days. We are not talking about one storm system. We are talking about a storm train, a parade of systems that are going to move through the same regions one after another. And the snow totals are going to stack up quickly in areas from the Rockies to the Great Lakes and the Northeast. At the same time, the southern half of the country is going to be dealing with severe weather threats, including the potential for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds. This is a significant change from the pattern we have been in, and it is going to affect over 100 million people across multiple states. I have been tracking the evolution of this setup closely, and the models are showing remarkable consistency on the overall theme, even though individual storm details are still being refined. What I am going to break down for you is the timeline of this storm train, the regions that are going to see the heaviest snow, the severe weather threat in the south, and what this pattern means as we head deeper into the final weeks of winter. Let me start with what is driving this pattern change. The jet stream, which is the river of fast-moving air in the upper atmosphere that steers our weather systems, is undergoing a major reconfiguration. For much of the past couple of weeks, we have been in a relatively quiet pattern with the jet stream running in a fairly flat configuration from west to east. That pattern is breaking down. What we are seeing now is the jet stream beginning to buckle and amplify, creating a deep trough over the western United States and a strong ridge building over the eastern Pacific and into Alaska. This configuration is critically important because it sets up what meteorologists call a favorable storm track. Every time a disturbance rides through that western trough, it is going to have access to abundant Pacific moisture, and it is going to be steered on a path that takes it directly across the northern tier of the United States. That means repeated impacts for the same regions, and that is why we use the term storm train. The first system in this train is already taking shape over the Pacific Northwest. Right now, we have a strong area of low pressure moving onshore in Washington and Oregon, and it is bringing heavy rain to the coast and heavy snow to the Cascades. This system is going to track inland tonight and tomorrow, spreading snow across the northern Rockies, including Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming. By tomorrow night, that system is going to be over the northern plains, bringing snow to North Dakota, South Dakota, and northern Minnesota. Snowfall totals from this first wave are going to be significant, with widespread 6 to 12 inches across the northern Rockies and the northern plains. Some higher elevation locations in Montana and Wyoming could see 18 to 24 inches. This is a substantial storm on its own, but it is just the opening act. Right behind that first system, we have a second storm that is going to follow almost the exact same track. This second system is going to move onshore late tomorrow and into Friday. It is going to bring another round of heavy mountain snow to the Cascades and the Rockies, and then it is going to track across the northern plains and into the upper Midwest. The timing on this second system looks like Friday night into Saturday for the northern plains, and Saturday into Sunday for the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes. Snowfall from this second system could be even heavier in some locations because it is going to have access to more moisture. We could see an additional 12 to 18 inches of snow across parts of Montana, the Dakotas, and northern Minnesota. And for the Great Lakes, this system could bring the first significant lake effect snow event of this pattern, with bands of heavy snow developing downwind of Lake Superior and Lake Michigan. But the storm train does not stop there. Behind that second system, we have a third system that is going to move through over the weekend and into early next week. And behind that, there are indications of yet another system that could affect the same areas by the middle of next week. This is what I mean by a storm train. These systems are going to keep coming one after another with very little recovery time in between. For cities like Billings, Fargo, Duluth, Minneapolis, and Green Bay, you are looking at multiple days of snowfall over the next week, and the totals are going to add up quickly. By the time this pattern breaks down, some areas could be dealing with storm total accumulations of 2 to 3 feet. And in the favored snow belts, particularly downwind of the Great Lakes, totals could exceed 3 feet in some locations. Travel is going to become increasingly difficult as the snow piles up, and snow removal efforts are going to struggle to keep pace with the repeated rounds of heavy snow. Now, as these systems move across the northern tier, they are not just going to bring snow, they are also going to usher in very cold air behind them. Each system is going to be followed by a push of Arctic air, and temperatures are going to drop well below normal across the northern plains, the Midwest, and the Great Lakes. We are talking about high temperatures in the single digits and teens, and overnight lows that could drop below zero in many areas. Wind chills are going to be even colder, with values potentially dropping to 20 or 30 degrees below zero in some locations. This cold air is going to make the snow that is already on the ground very slow to melt, and it is going to create hazardous conditions for anyone who has to be outside for extended periods of time. If you live in these areas, you need to make sure you have cold weather gear ready, that your home heating system is working properly, and that you have a plan in place in case power outages occur. While the northern tier deals with heavy snow and bitter cold, the southern half of the country is going to be dealing with a completely different set of hazards. The same jet stream pattern that is funneling storm after storm into the northern states is also going to create a very favorable setup for severe weather across the south. What happens is this: as each northern system digs southward and then lifts northeastward, it creates a strong temperature gradient across the central United States. Warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico is going to surge northward ahead of these systems, and that warm air is going to collide with cooler air that is being pulled down from the north. That collision zone is where severe thunderstorms are going to develop, and the wind shear in the atmosphere is going to be strong enough to support rotating storms and tornadoes. The first significant severe weather threat is going to develop this weekend, and it is going to affect a large portion of the southern plains and the southeast. The timing looks like Saturday afternoon and evening for areas across eastern Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas, and then Saturday night into Sunday for Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee. The main threats are going to be tornadoes, some of which could be strong, large hail, and damaging straight-line winds. This is a setup that I am taking very seriously, and if you live in the South, you need to be prepared. Make sure you have multiple ways to receive warnings. Know where your safe place is in your home, ideally an interior room on the lowest floor, away from windows, and be ready to take action immediately if a tornado warning is issued for your area. Do not wait. Tornadoes can develop quickly, and the time between a warning being issued and a tornado arriving can be just a few minutes. But just like with the snow in the north, the severe weather threat in the south is not going to be a one-time event. The pattern is going to support additional severe weather outbreaks as we move into next week. Each time a new system moves through, we are going to have the potential for another round of severe storms. Right now, it looks like there could be another significant severe weather day around the middle of next week, possibly Tuesday or Wednesday, affecting areas from Texas to the Carolinas. The details on that are still uncertain, but the overall pattern strongly suggests that the South is going to see repeated severe weather threats over the next 7 to 10 days. In addition to the severe weather, the South is also going to see very heavy rainfall. These storm systems are going to tap into deep tropical moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, and they are going to wring out that moisture as they lift northward. Rainfall totals over the next 5 to 7 days are going to be in the 4 to 8 inch range across much of Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Tennessee. Some localized areas could see even higher totals, particularly where thunderstorms train over the same locations repeatedly. That kind of rainfall is going to lead to significant flooding concerns. Flash flooding is going to be possible in urban areas and areas with poor drainage. River flooding is going to become a concern as all of that water runs off into streams and rivers. If you live in an area that is prone to flooding, you need to know your flood risk, and you need to have a plan to get to higher ground if flooding occurs. Never attempt to drive through flooded roadways. Turn around, do not drown. Now, one of the interesting aspects of this pattern is what is going to be happening in between the snow zone in the north and the severe weather zone in the south. Across the central plains and the Midwest, we are going to see some very sharp temperature contrasts and the potential for mixed precipitation. There are going to be areas where the temperature is right around freezing, and in those areas, we could see a mix of rain, sleet, and freezing rain instead of all snow or all rain. Ice accumulation is one of the most destructive types of winter weather, and even small amounts can bring down power lines, snap tree branches, and make roads completely impassable. Right now, the areas most at risk for significant ice are going to be across parts of Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, and Illinois. The exact locations are going to depend on where the freezing line sets up, and that is still being worked out in the models, but this is something we need to watch closely. If ice does develop in these areas, power outages could be widespread and long-lasting. As we move toward the end of this week and into the weekend, the Rockies are going to see some of the most impressive snow totals. The western slope of the Rockies, particularly in Colorado, is going to be in a favorable position to receive heavy snow with each system that moves through. Over the next 7 days, some locations in the Colorado Rockies could see total accumulations of 3 to 5 feet, with some favored areas possibly exceeding 5 feet. This is going to be a major boost to the snowpack, which is critically important for water supply later in the year. But it is also going to create extremely hazardous conditions in the mountains. Avalanche danger is going to be high, and backcountry travel is going to be very dangerous. Mountain passes are going to be difficult to navigate, and some passes may close temporarily due to heavy snow and poor visibility. The West Coast is also going to see impacts from this storm train. Each system that moves onshore is going to bring heavy rain to the coast and heavy snow to the mountains. The Cascades in Washington and Oregon are going to see storm total snow accumulations of 2 to 4 feet over the next week. The Sierra Nevada in California is going to see similar totals, with some locations possibly exceeding 4 feet. This is great news for the water supply in California, but it is also going to create travel problems and the potential for localized flooding in the lower elevations where heavy rain falls. One thing I want to emphasize is that this pattern is going to be relentless. We are not going to get a break. One system is going to move through, and before we even have time to clean up from that one, the next one is going to be arriving. This is going to test snow removal operations, emergency services, and infrastructure across large portions of the country. If you live in an area that is going to be affected by this storm train, whether it is snow in the north, severe weather in the south, or flooding in between, you need to be prepared now. Stock up on essential supplies. Make sure you have food, water, medications, and anything else you might need if you get stuck at home for a few days. Make sure your vehicles are ready for winter weather, with full tanks of gas, emergency kits, and proper tires. And most importantly, stay informed. Monitor the forecast closely and be ready to adjust your plans as conditions change. As we look ahead to the latter part of next week and into the following weekend, there are some signs that this active pattern may continue. The jet stream configuration that is driving all of this activity is not expected to break down quickly. That means we could see additional systems moving through even after this initial wave of storms. It is too early to say exactly what those systems might bring. But the overall pattern suggests that we are in for an extended period of active and impactful winter weather across much of the country. This is a significant pattern change, and it is going to dominate the weather headlines for at least the next week and possibly longer. Thank you for watching, and I will continue to provide updates as this storm train unfolds over the coming days.